Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But not every transformation is good. Some leave you wiser, some leave you wrecked. Because Jung didn't just study the light in people, he spent decades mapping their shadows. And through that journey, he revealed something few are ready to accept, that there are certain types of people you must never trust, not because they're evil, but because their very presence distorts your center. Some manipulate, some seduce, some infect you with their unresolved wounds. And if you're not careful, you don't just suffer around them, you slowly become like them. Today, we're diving deep into Jung's psychology to reveal 7 people you should never trust. Because the truth is, not every spiritual path is about love and light. Sometimes the deepest wisdom begins with discernment. So, let's begin. Person 1. The unintegrated nice person. On the surface, they're lovely, kind, always smiling. They never raise their voice, never cause conflict, never say no. But Jung warned, this person is a mask. They've repressed their shadow for so long that the moment they face discomfort, their darkness leaks out sideways. They'll ghost you instead of telling you the truth. They'll resent you while smiling to your face. They'll act selfless until they explode. Why? Because they're not whole. They're at war with their own impulses. So when stress hits, it's not maturity that comes out. It's the monster they refuse to look at. Jung called this the danger of the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted. But when someone only lives through their mask, they don't even know they're lying. You cannot trust someone who doesn't even know themselves. Person 2, the moralizer. They always know what's right, what's good, what's holy. They shame others, correct others, call out others in the name of righteousness. But Jung saw the truth. These people are almost always hiding their own unconscious desires. The louder they preach, the more they're projecting. He called it shadow projection. They label others as wrong. To avoid looking at the darkness within, they tell you what to think, what to feel, who to be. But deep down, they don't want clarity. They want control. You will never win with this person, because they've made their morality a weapon. And the closer you get, the more you'll be punished for being real. If this is hitting something real inside you, pause for a moment. Click subscribe. Thank you for your support. Person 3, the constant victim. At first, they seem harmless, even endearing. They always have a story about how they were wronged, how the world is unfair, how everyone betrays them. And, if you're a kind person, you'll want to help, to listen, to support. But Jung warned, be careful of those who are addicted to being the victim. Because when someone builds their entire identity around suffering, they can't afford to heal. Why? Because healing would require responsibility. And responsibility means power. But the victim avoids power, because power would mean admitting they're not helpless. So instead, they manipulate sympathy, drain your energy, make you feel guilty for having boundaries. Jung called this negative inflation, where someone expands their sense of self by clinging to powerlessness. They don't want solutions, they want your attention. And the longer you stay, the more they'll guilt you for pulling away. Person 4, the chameleon. This person is magnetic. They adapt to everyone, say all the right things, mirror your values, speak your language. You feel seen, understood, even soul-connected. But Jung warned, be wary of those who mirror too well, because if someone can become anyone, they're hiding who they really are. Jung believed that true individuality takes inner work, a willingness to know oneself, flaws and all. But the chameleon avoids that work. They build their identity based on approval. So their kindness, calculated. Their interest, tactical. They're not revealing themselves. They're adapting to control. And if you stop feeding their image, you'll see the coldness underneath. Jung called this kind of adaptation a betrayal of the self. Because when someone loses touch with who they truly are, they'll use you to feel real. until they find someone new to reflect. Person 5, the enlightened guru who hasn't done their inner work. They speak in quotes, radiate peace. They talk about vibration, alignment, healing. But somehow, they always seem superior. Jung saw this coming long before it became an Instagram trend. He warned of the inflated ego disguised as the spiritual self. This is the person who uses language of awakening to escape their own pain. They haven't integrated their trauma. They haven't faced their rage, but they've memorized all the words that sound deep. Jung called this the danger of identifying with the archetype of the wise one too early, because if you assume you've transcended your shadow, you stop growing, and worse, you become a guide who misleads others. These people will tell you you're too negative, too low vibe, too egoic, when really, they just can't sit with your truth. Don't trust anyone who teaches from a place of superiority. True wisdom is humble, grounded, and always evolving. Person 6, the smiling saboteur. They'll never raise their voice, never insult you directly. They might even compliment you, but something always feels off. They forget to invite you. They joke about your insecurities. They accidentally reveal what you told them in confidence. And when you confront them, oh my God, I was just joking. You're too sensitive. Why would you think I meant that? Carl Jung called this the shadow in disguise. This person has unacknowledged envy, but instead of owning it, they bury it, and it leaks out as subtle sabotage, because envy, when repressed, becomes destructive. It seeks to level the playing field, not through growth, but through corrosion. These people will act like allies, but they celebrate your failures more than your wins. Jung's warning: don't listen to words. Watch energy, patterns, subtle betrayals, because some betrayals come with a smile. And the longer you ignore the signs, the deeper they cut. Person 7, the unintegrated shadow. This isn't a specific person. It's a pattern that can live in anyone, even in you. It's the version of a person who's repressed their darkness for so long. It starts controlling them from the inside. The rage they don't express, it becomes passive aggression. The desire they're ashamed of, it becomes projection. The fears they deny, they place them on others. Jung's most powerful insight was this: what you do not make conscious appears in your life as fate. This person is dangerous because they don't know they're dangerous. They lie, but think they're honest. They manipulate, but think they're loving. They hurt people, but think they're healing them. Why? Because they haven't done the shadow work. And shadow work isn't about fixing yourself. It's about facing the parts you've hidden. Jung believed that real trust begins within. If you trust yourself to see clearly, to listen to your gut, to own your own darkness, then no shadow can fool you for long, because you've already met your own. So if you recognize some of these traits in others, good. But if you also recognize them in yourself, even better. Awareness is the beginning of all healing. And that brings us to this. If this resonated, take a moment to subscribe. Drop a comment below, not for the algorithm, but to mark this chapter in your journey. If you made it this far, you're not just watching. You're remembering, returning, reclaiming your inner ground. So trust that the video YouTube shows you next, the one appearing now, is not random. It's the next doorway, the next layer, and it will meet you exactly where you are. We'll see you in the next depth. Depthoria continues.